So you learned to be a people person, and in the 3rd grade, you had your first starring role. What was it?
Well, that was a biggie. It was a biggie. Played a groundhog in a play. It was a title role, too. I haven't played many title roles. You know, I'm not playing one now.
Was the play in February by any chance?
Gee, I don't know.
I thought it might have opened.
Groundhog Day has always meant something to me because I wanted to be married on Groundhog Day for some reason. We couldn't do it. We had to be married on the 1st of February instead of the 2nd. But, yeah, I did do that part. And it was, it really started me on my career, I guess.
Yeah. What were some of the other things that followed? You did some things in college, you mentioned.
We'll skip the pageant of the 4th grade, the Pilgrims and that stuff. Yeah. And we even skip a little of the high school, and I went to college. And I really...
When did you get serious about it, though?
Well, I was very serious about it.
Even in the 3rd grade?
We started from the right place as far as seriousness is concerned, but when I was in college, I let it be very well known to my family that I was going to, after I finished, was going to go to New York and try and start a career in ministry.
And you were fated
Couldn't
because
happen.
in Beyond the Fringe you wore a clerical collar.
That's true, and I preached a sermon, but it wasn't... I still can do that sermon, as a matter of fact.
So I think you were destined to wear a collar, whether it be in real life or whether on television.
Well, I did, but as an actor, you know, you feel, well, I'll do, you know, all those years of MASH kind of telescope in my mind to, it was a lot of years. But all during that period, I did other things, too. And Mulcahy wasn't really me. It was somebody I could look at on the tube. And, you know, now that I'm doing Richard Sherman, I'm still the same actor inside.
What about Beyond the Fringe? Was that your first big break, or did that get you known?
Well, you know, you talk about big breaks. The first real big break I had was just getting a job at all. That was a big break. I worked in summer stock, and I became an equity actor. But then Beyond the Fringe was a tremendous break. And then MASH is another tremendous break.
What about all the series? You were in a lot of different series.
Well,
Carol Burnett.
I worked in, you know, Gomer Pyle and Andy Griffith and That Girl and Hogan's Heroes, a number of those. But, of course, you can do an awful lot of that stuff. And you can make a living, but it doesn't really elevate you the way, you know, millions of people saw the MASH thing.
Yes.
Did that over and over again.
What about the comedy element? Are you happiest with the comedy element, or do you like serious drama? Do people normally associate you with just comedies?
Well, I don't know. I know that people normally associate me right now with playing a priest.
What inspired you? Did you see something on stage and thought, I think I have this talent and I want to do it?
I don't know. I think since I'm a kid, I was in dance school when I was 6 or 7 because my father said I couldn't walk. I would walk and stumble. He said, that kid's got to do something. So my mother put me in dancing school, which I abhorred.
Was it tap, jazz, as we know?
I hop, shuffle, left, brush, brush, ball, change.
Good for you.
And I was a pretty good little hoofer. And I'm so glad they did, because it's really helped over the years. At one time, I could really hoof quite well, and when I did Birdie in London, the Happy Face number is a full-out 7-minute dance number, and I can tap that. And in fact, it's made such a huge resurgence in the last 8-10 years.
Once you get those steps within you, you never seem to forget them. That's one of the nice things about it.
Yeah, and tapping is just balance anyway.
Your first biggie, I guess, was it Skyscraper with Julie Harris?
Well, my first biggie as a Broadway performer, I'd done Broadway before. I'd never had a hit until Skyscraper with Julie and myself. It's the musical version of Dream Girl, the Elmer Rice story. And that crazy Charles Nelson Riley was in the show. And Julie, Charles, and myself have been like family ever since.
But, you know, it's very frustrating. You have to develop a very strong will in acting, and also you have to develop, it's a paradox actually, you have to develop an exterior that you will not be affected by the business side. You're treated as a commodity. People are constantly rejecting you on very personal grounds. You're not good looking enough, you don't talk a certain way, you don't look a certain way, you're too heavy, you're too thin, this and that.
You don't take any of that personally, do you?
So,
are you really overly sensitive?
Well, that's the paradox I'm talking about. I think you have to be somewhat sensitive to be an actor.
Well, to be an actor, but at the same time
what you have to do at the same time is separate it.
Semi-tough.
You have to be semi-tough, yeah. You have to separate the two and just treat it as nothing personal and part of the business and go on and do your work.
What was your first big movie break, would you say?
Well, the first movie I did was Semi-Tough, which I was kind of thrilled about. It was with Burt Reynolds and Chris Christopherson, Joe Clayburgh, and I had a part. I didn't speak any English. And it exercised my intellect, which was kind of fun because I spoke Bulgarian. And having been a language major, I said, oh, great, I can learn another language. I thought I was, so I spoke Bulgarian in that film, which was kind of fun.
Did you get some good response from that film?
I got a lot of good response from the film.
And from there, other things happened.
Yeah, I did other pictures, The Entity and Lovesick. And
Lovesick was excellent.
Lovesick was a lot of
A
fun.
big one for you was Silkwood. That's what I remember you most readily in. You look at psychological studies, it shows that married couples live longer. This single man or a single woman doesn't live quite as long as those that are engaged in a relationship, a marriage, or what have you. I mean, the statistics just weigh heavily on having love in your life. And it just makes everything else so special. That it's a wonderful message, a wonderful message.
And we live in such technological times,
Definitely.
It's to me, the value of this show and shows like, to me, theater should be about touching people, It's like, there are a lot of people with wonderful voices, there's choirs full of them all over the place. But if you aren't able to touch someone, then you can have the greatest voice in the world and it doesn't make any difference at all to me. And I feel the same way. When an audience comes back and they're full, their eyes are full and you go, God, did I have something to do with that?
Yes.
That's what makes the difference.
Or they have something to think about or feel and carry that in their mind and their hearts, what they've seen. Some of them months and months, they think of that, and they receive the letters about it.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
I am too. Let's all find somebody to hug. As you perceive it now, that this was a mistake, at least up till now.
Well, all I can say to you is that I don't believe anything you do in life is really a mistake. I believe that it's what I had to do at that time for myself, and that hopefully I can go on now knowing what is important to me. I was floundering then, and I made the choices that I did. So no, I don't think it was a mistake. It looks like a mistake because everyone knew me in New York. I was very, very well known and liked in my profession in theater. So, from that point of view, yes, I think it was a mistake, and because I love New York.
Well, the center of gravity is now moving back to New York. And so your popularity there has to put you in good stead.
I hope so. And even if it isn't, I'm staying in New York.
How did you come to appear on Carson 70 times?
Well, I did.
Well, we know that you're a
Carson
wonderful
show.
singer, and so that would be a big plus for you, but that's a
Yes.
lot of times.
Yes, evidently after about the 69th time, I was convinced that I might be a good singer, and that's why they kept bringing me back.
With us on this special segment of the Green Room is Mr. Hal Holbrook. He's star of stage, screen, and television, and over 1,800 performances of his one-man show, Mark Twain Tonight. And it's a real pleasure to have him with us this afternoon.
Well, I came properly dressed for the Green Room, didn't
Well, you look great. You look super. In fact, we were commenting just prior to the show how well you mesh with the
Match
sofa.
with the
That's
sofa,
a perfect.
the whole bit,
I know it was
I tell
all
you.
scouted out of advance. No question about that.
This is my round-the-world suit.
Well, that's good, and we'll talk about all your famous travels and some of the places you'll be going in the near future. But one of the things I think I find fascinating is this whole business of how a youngster gets started in the acting profession and how they become a big star such as yourself, and you've mastered all three mediums so well. How old were you when you first got started?
Well, I was 16 in my last year at prep school, Culver Military Academy, and my getting into the theater was totally a fluke.
Yes, most definitely. In a way, you're trying to carry his legacy forward because in your 1,800 various performances since 1954, you're continually updating your material, adding new material. So you are, in a sense, trying to see perhaps as he would see many of these
I am
things
trying
today.
to, yes. That's probably why that's what I want to ask him.
And there's some humor and there's some tragedy, I guess, in everything that Twain would have to say about what he sees today. What are some of the big things that we will see in the performance at the Kennedy Center that maybe we didn't see 10 years ago? A couple of the new additions to the Mark Twain of today.
I think that there's a little more political stuff in it than there was 10 years ago in the first act.
You know, Russell Matheny is probably one of the near legends in set design in the Washington metropolitan area. It's always a wonderful experience to see his work, both at the Studio Theater and other things that he has done. You know, our next awards are for the Outstanding Resident Supporting Actress and Actor. You'll see both of them together. The presenters that night were Leslie Jacobson and Abel Lopez.